Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Today's share is being sponsored by J. Malki Spector from Lawrence, New York, in honor of the 18th yahrzeit of our beloved grandmother, Buna Bas Yaakov Wolf Grieger, Elizabeth Schmutz. She was a Holocaust survivor, something like that. She was a Holocaust survivor who embodied tremendous emunah and strength and lived her life in that manner. One of the greatest gifts she passed on to us, her grandchildren, was her tremendous love and appreciation for the state of Israel. She's buried in Har Menuchas, and this is the first year that none of her children or grandchildren could travel to Israel on her yahrzeit. Yeah, my shver has never missed a yahrzeit for his mother, father, and shver and shviger, all four. And this year, nobody came. All right. Dear Berli, Shlita. I thoroughly enjoy your shir, and it's the perfect way to start the day. The sponsorship and emails at the beginning are great, as it allows a small buffer zone, so that even after hitting the snooze button at 5 a.m., I can still get onto the shir on time for the start of the daf. This is Shloimi Leitner from Golders Green, London. They have to get up at 5. After the inspiration of the Sima Shas, there are sudden outbursts of many different online shiurim and daf apps. I subscribed to a number of them and joined numerous WhatsApp groups, MDY included. It got to the point where my phone didn't stop buzzing with daf material. At the start of Pesachim, I had enough and exited some of the groups that I wasn't using. Within minutes, one of the Magidi Shur messaged me asking if something he had said in shir had been offensive. I reassured him it was nothing personal, just Reb Eli's shir was better suited for me. Every Magid has a different style and something else to offer, whether it's through different visual drawings or just simply the way the Gemara is explained. Admittedly, after listening to your morning shir and then the 8-minute summary on the way to work, the Gemara is still something that's not clear in my head. And in the evening, I often listen to another shir to better understand the daf. Surely the goal of every Magid is to collectively Mekadesh Shem Shomayim by increasing the Torah learning globally, ensuring that the daf is accessible to the entire Klal Yisrael. With one shared aim, there can't be any rivalry, and when a member of the MDY family listens to a different shir to clarify that day's daf, rather than being the case of being a traitor, it should be commended. Kind regards, Shloimi Leitner, Golders Green, London. Shloimi, this is something you might not understand ever. This is American sarcastic humor. I wasn't talking to Leiby, by the way. I was talking to Levi Friedman. They sit next to each other. So Leiby is from England, and I was just kibitzing around because Levi Friedman had the audacity. He knew I wouldn't be makid, so he put it on loud right in front of me. Then I said something. V'haraya that he knew I wasn't joking, that I was joking. Because yesterday he did the same thing again. So anyways, I sometimes even mention Sruli Bornstein in my shir, say if anybody wants to hear good shtiklach Torah on the daf, go to his shir. 100%. Maskin. This is from Binyamin Medizda. I don't even know. Mehdizadeh. Again, in Panovich, we only went up to 7 letters. This is based on your chiddush that first Hashem gives you a warning by burning. I'm reading this today because you just said it the other day. Based on your chiddush that first Hashem gives you a warning by burning your tongue and then puts you in jail, and then if you still don't listen, death. COVID also, Corona, is the same way. No smell and taste, burnt tongue, then bidud, quarantine, jail, and if you don't listen, death, chas v'shalom. All right, Givaldik. You enjoy that? Yeah, why not? So we have big chidushim here. Today, Rabbi Isai is Daf Lamed, and we are holding on the top word. We're in the middle of a sugya of taroivus. So, you know what? Before, do we have another? Yeah, I have another minute. I just want to say that everybody knows, but we have to reiterate that the team goes so much out of their way to bring the Torah out there. So I want to show you something very interesting. Yosef Bilyak is in charge of getting the shir. He uploads the shir. He used to do it at home. But the upload speeds at home are slow, and he was worried that it would take a couple of extra hours. So what does he do? He travels all the way to IKEA And he sits in IKEA because they have 10 times the speed. Gary, you're able to he needs 10 times the speed. We have to get him cable or something. Here in Eretz Yisrael, you're limited.
He needs the couch.
I don't know what he needs. He goes here every single day. I said, I need a picture of it. All right. Huh? They don't have fiber optic in Beit Shemesh yet. That's the problem. But they have it over there by IKEA, which is outside of Beit Shemesh. Be'ezer Hashem, one day. You won't have to travel every day to IKEA. So, yesterday we were discussing taroivis. A mixture, the difference between min v'shaloi b'minoi, if it's the same item, flour and flour, or flour and chocolate. We know that according to Rav and Shmuel, min b'minoi is very problematic. So even if you add a small amount, a mashu, of that into the mixture, it makes it chametz no good. So says Rava, finally, after we learned the sugi yesterday, Omar Rava, Hilchasa chametz bizmanoi, chametz on Pesach, bein b'minoi, bein shaloi b'minoi, osur b'mashu kirav. So, chametz, Machlokes Rashi and Tosfos had to learn this, chametz on Pesach, whether it's b'minoi, not b'minoi, Rav is the one that's geyser, and he says even shaloi b'minoi, which is more kal, and typically isurim in the Torah, you don't answer them with a mashu, you need nois and tam, with a vav, without a vav, not barnat, whatever. You need something substantial. Nevertheless, when it comes to Pesach, on Pesach, we answer, he passes like Rav, we should make a gzeira. Why did we say? Because Rav holds that Pesach is different, Pesach is kares, Pesach loy bedili, people are not so careful, they don't know how to be careful. So we have to help them out. Bein b'minoi, bein b'shaloi b'minoi, osur b'mashu kirav. Shaloi b'zmanoi, but after Pesach, what do? Then all of a sudden, we paskin. Now, if you remember, so we had the machlokes, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yossi Haglili. I changed it for today. Yapchik. We got the final food in. Yapchik, Erev Pesach. So that Rav holds, Bein b'minoi, bein shaloi b'minoi, is according to Rabbi Yehuda, that chametz is also before Pesach, after Pesach, before meaning from midday, Shchitas Karban Pesach, all the way through Pesach, and even after Pesach. Then, says Rava, let's switch it up to Reb Shimon. That what? Shaloi bizmanoi, but after Pesach, bein b'minoi, bein shaloi b'minoi, mutar, ki Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon holds that after Pesach, chametz is mutar b'ana. Therefore, even b'minoi, min b'minoi, is not a problem. What's the worst? The worst of the worst. Min b'minoi, flour and flour. But it's after Pesach, when we pass like Reb Shimon, that chametz after Pesach is mutar b'ana. Asks the Gemara a question that we already addressed yesterday. Umi Amar Rava hachi. Amar Rava, Rava said, Rabbi Shimon kanasa kanis. So this check mark right over here is supposed to be an X. Reb Shimon holds that even after Pesach he can't use chametz. Why? Because we have to penalize him. It's a knas. He's over and bal yiro, bal yamotza. He can't go and sell it after Pesach. Reb Shimon can also go on this. So, why are you telling me that chametz is mutter after Pesach? Don't get nervous from this word. That's the name of the sugya anyway. What Rava said in Reb Shimon, that we give him a knas and he can't sell the chametz, is when it's a whole donut. But when it's in a mixture, then we're not koines. V'az the Rava l'tamei, that halach is like Reb Shimon, the Omar Rava. Ki avina bei Rav Nachman, when we were by Rav Nachman, ki have an afki shivig yomi de pischa, when the 7 days of Pesach, 8 days of Pesach, depends where you are, Omalon, Puku, Uzvino, Chamira, Devnei Chela. Go ahead and buy bread from the goyim, the soldiers, who baked the bread on Pesach. It's not a problem. Chometz shavel of Pesach, mutar b'hana, like Rabbi Shimon, and that's it. Now, why does it say bnei chela? I don't know. I was a little bothered by it. My chavrusa reminded me that on Daf Amud Beis it says that Rava said, make sure you get rid of the chametz of the bnei chela. Bnei chela, the soldiers used to store the chametz in the Jewish homes. So get rid of it. So maybe that's what he was saying. You get rid of it, you give it back to them, and then go back and buy it from them, so to speak. They have it, they have it from Pesach, go buy it. Maybe it has something to do with that. Omar Rav. I'm just saying it's kedai to do chazara. Another thing, I was doing chazara yesterday, and I was learning another sugya that we had in the beginning of the Masechta, and we learned over there, davar agarim lamami k'mamin dami. And yesterday in the share, it was like, brand new halacha we never learned before in our life. Davar agarim, what? He just learned it 2 weeks ago. Chazara, Baisei, chazara. Omar Rav. Kedei rois bePesach yishavru. Says Rav that all your dishes, all your pots that are made out of earthenware, I guess in those days a lot of them were made out of earthenware, you have to break them. There's nothing you can do with them. Why? Rav is of the opinion that what? That even a mashu that mixes with your food ruins it. Even b'minoi, shloi b'minoi, it doesn't matter. So you have absorbed in this cheres, you have chametz. So now that's it. It's chametz shavel of Pesach. So what are you going to do with this pot exactly? You want to use it again. You want to make your oatmeal after Pesach. You can't because it has chametz inside the walls of this pot. Even a mashu, you don't even see it. That's enough to make it usher. Even, we'll see in a second. Can't do anything. Can't have enough from it. V'amai, asked the Gemara, lishinu achar Pesach v'levet behu shaloi b'minon. Rav is of the opinion that after Pesach, we're not geyser. There's nothing to be geyser. So after Pesach, only b'minoi is aser b'mashu. But shaloi b'minoi, if you're making chocolate in that pot, and before that you had chametz flour in the pot, it's okay after Pesach. It's only on Pesach I make a gzeira, shaloi b'minoi because of minoi. But we're talking about after Pesach. So why did Rav say you must break these pots? Break them all. There's nothing you can do with them. I have a very good use for it. I can use it for something I haven't cooked in that pot before. Says the Gemara, Gzeira, Dilma Asalamevu B'minoi. Okay. Maybe you'll forget. So before Pesach, you mixed in some flour, chametz flour, and the flour got into the walls of the thing. And then after Pesach, you're going to forget. You're going to do something with flour, and that's a problem. But what's the Gemara's question for a second? Just if we have a second here. The Gemara asks, what's the problem? You have in the walls of the pot, you have chametz. So go ahead and use something else with it. Use it for chocolate. But that's a problem, as Tosfos. A mevatlim isur l'chatchila. You're using chametz shavel of Pesach, and you try to be mevatel isur l'chatchila. So Tosfos says that in the second teretz, that if we require you to break it, that's already a b'di'evid. It turns it into b'di'evid. It's not like, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm being mevatel isur on purpose. I have no choice. Otherwise, my other choice is to throw it out in the garbage. That's already not l'chatchila. Zog the Gemara, Ushmul Omar, smack in the middle of the Amud. Ushmul Omar, Lo Yishavru, you don't break the pots. Why? Because he holds like Reb Shimon that chametz shavel of Pesach is mutar b'hana. So what's the problem? No problem at all. You can use it after Pesach. Avamashu lulach is manayim. V'avid bein b'minoi, bein shaloi b'minoi. You can do whatever you want after Pesach. You could even do b'minoi. It's no problem. Even its own min you could do. Why? So, a very interesting story. Shmuel was witnessing how people were selling pots after Pesach. What's the hottest item, especially in Rav's town? Pots. Because Rav says all your pots have to be broken on Pesach. So every Pesach they go ahead and they break all the kli cheres, all the earthenware pots. If you didn't splurge on the metal pots, you have to break your pots. So what do these guys do? Like typical, they sell pots, now they hike the prices up. Supply and demand. So Shmuel tells them, those who sell these new pots, I'm warning you, make sure your prices are right. I'm going to ruin your whole business. I'm going to tell everybody that you don't even have to break the pot. Forget about buying pots. It's all mutter. Ask the Gemara, I don't understand. Why did he wait? He should have got up in shul and said it's 100% mutter. You don't have to buy new pots. Asri de Rav Avo. Obviously, we're talking about in the city of Rav. Everybody listened to Rav. And Rav said you have to break your pots. So they all broke their pots. Shmuel didn't want to get up there and be mechulik on Rav in his own city. But he said, listen, if you're going to practice these terrible practices of raising the prices when you're not supposed to, then I'm going to be forced to be mechulik and Rav in Rav city and tell everybody the truth. Zog the Gemara, ahu tanura. A tanur. Where's the tanur? Tanur. The tachu beit tichaya, they smeared the inside of the oven with grease. How do you make grease? From an animal's tail, a kosher animal, kosher grease. But this grease is fleishiks. It's meat. Asro rova bar Eloi lemechle lerifta afilu b'milcha. Back in the day when we were in the chaniche, I had a lot of time in my hand, and we had an interesting rava. So I went through the entire shas, and I found 52. I think it was. I forgot my list somewhere. 52, right? Nachman, how many were? You were not happy with me. 52 ravas, different ravas. This is one of them. Rava bar Eloi. Huh? Yeah, he said, what are you wasting your time? I don't remember. It was a good taina. Whatever it was a good taina. Akapanim, Rava bar Eloi said, it's usher to eat bread that comes out of this oven. Why? The oven is fleishiks. Afilu b'milcha, even if you're going to eat it with nothing, just salt. Rashi says, they never ate bread plain. So it's either salt with a radish, with relish, whatever it is, with a dip, with kutach. Even eating it plain, not with a milchika dip, is asur. La'ilam. La'ilam means you can never heat up this oven and undo the damage of this meat, shmirachts, and you can never make bread in it. Dilma asur lemichle bekutcha. Don't worry, I didn't bring it. When we get to Mem Beis, maybe. I want to show what kutach is. I think it's geschmack stuff, no? The Ilam's nodding their head. Nice, sour, disgusting milk with moldy bread. It's geschmack. Rabbis, you don't even understand how good this stuff is. It's such a great thing. I think the Ilam deserves a package of it. MDY kutach. Now, kutach is very, very milchiks. I don't know that's right, Lachilas Kelev, but it's... You're arranging?
If you put it now on the roof, you'll have it for the siyum.
Yeah, we should serve kutach at the siyum. So what's the problem? You might now, everybody knows in Eretz Yisrael, they sell burekas here, and burekas is square, but they also sell triangle burekasin, and that's a thing in Israel, in Eretz Yisrael, that if you go to the bakery, anything that's made milchiks is a different shape. It's either triangle or a circle with things in it. And a mashgiach that I know was in a hotel here in Eretz Yisrael, and they made dairy barekas square. They had to throw everything out. The entire thing out in the garbage. Why? Dilma asi lemichle bekutcha. People might get confused. You have a loaf of bread, and it was baked in an oven that has meat oil in it. You might come to dip your bread in milchiks and fleishiks also. Meisvei ein loshen esayis b'chalav. You can't knead your dough with milk. Bimlosh kolapas kula asura, and if you do so, everything is asur. In other words, you can't even eat that bread by itself. Mipnei hergal aveira. That's the problem. There's a certain standard. Everybody knows that this bread could be eaten with meat, and now you have a problem. This is dairy bread. Big problem. We're turning to Daf Amud Beis. You're sponsoring Yeshua. I'm so excited. I think the Olam realizes that it was a little bit much, those sponsorships. The 3 sponsors, it's geschmack. It's not even worth the money. The Olam is smart. What? Gary says it is. Kalman of the 5 towns. You hear that, Kalman? Who's the third one? Fine. Bas Edel. So you don't grease up the oven with the oil of the tail. Vimtosh kol apas kula asura. And what does it say here? We have a major problem. Ad shiyasik satana. Over here it says that there's a way out of it. All you need to do, fire it up again. We're good to go. Zok the Gemara. If you fire it up, you heat it up again, you burn out the fat, now it's ready to go for milchiks. And the story, checkmate, we don't have a good answer for this, so it's a tiyufta. That's it, God. Says Ravina to Ravashi, so we have a few Ravina to Ravashis, the authors of Shas talking to each other. Usually it's Ravina to Ravashi, I think. You ever see Ravashi to Ravina? I don't know. I have to look it up. Don't quote me. Since we just slugged him up, I might call my Rav. Why can't you just? There's a Mordecai Eitzah. Why does Rav tell everybody, break your pots, take the earthenware, burn it up? What's the problem? Put it in a flame and we're good to go. If it's metal, we could deal with it. It comes out, the chametz. When it comes to earthenware, as we'll see later, the Torah is made that earthenware absorbs and doesn't expel it completely. Or you could say, no, both are talking about earthenware. So if we're talking about the oven, how do you heat up an oven? From inside. The heat is inside. I'll just borrow a picture from, I wanted to talk about this Hagalas Kalim place here in Ramat Bet Shemesh, but I'll just steal a picture here for a second, just so, for illustrative purposes. Over here, the heat is from the outside. And therefore, it doesn't expel the chametz completely. And if you'll say, okay, so what's the problem? Take the earthenware and put the flame inside the earthenware. Why do you have to burn it from the outside? Says the Gemara, a person is careful, he doesn't want to do so. Why? Because it's going to burst. Sometimes it's going to pop. There goes his earthenware. So, says Rashi Moirdik. Says Rashi, then he's Moira Hetera v'somecha hesek b'chutz. Therefore, I can't allow him even to do it on the outside, in the inside. I can't allow him to do it in the inside. What if he says, I don't care? No, because tomorrow he's going to go along and he's going to do it on the outside. He's going to be Moira Heter. What's the biggest problem in Yiddishkeit? Moira Heter. Nobody wants to do an Avera straight out. It says in the Torah you can't do it. I'll do it. No. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care about this situation. He would have wanted me. You have all sorts of excuses. That's Moira Heter. So Moira Heter, a person, once he has a Heter to do it on the inside, then all of a sudden he starts making excuses and he says, you know what? You think HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so small with me? He's gonna make me do it and break my pot? Not that much. So let me do it on the outside. Oh, that's already a problem. So therefore we said no outside, no inside, nothing. Hilkoch, hi buchyo. Look at Rashi, buchyo. What is buchyo? Does anybody see what Rashi says here? Kli shuhu mirafim, shekoirim. What's the next word, Rabbi Isai? Tiles. Very good. Tiles. That's what Rashi says. It's a sin, not a shin. In fact, my guy put a sin here. Tiles. These are afim. These are the roof tiles. And they have some sort of inside. So you could put a flame underneath and cook on top of the tile. So since the flame is underneath, it's asur. And if you fill it up with coals, shaper dummy. Then it's okay, because then the coals get rid of it from inside. In other words, this is a stronger material, so we're not concerned that it's going to pop. And memela, if you put coals on where you put the chametz, then it gets rid of the chametz and it's good. Says Ravina to Rashi, I need to know halacha l'maisa. What do we do with our knives? Our knives that we cut chametz with all year long, how do I use it on Pesach? I buy brand new ones. You're rich. You're wealthy. What are all the poor people supposed to do? I don't buy new ones. I'm talking about I take my chametz knives and I make them new. Now we have a concept called keboiloi kach poltoi. As it absorbs, that's how you have to expel it. So if you were to take a knife and put it on the flame with chametz meat, whatever it is, you put it on the flame like that. So the only way to get rid of the chametz is by putting it on the flame. If you took the knife and you stirred up a pot, so then the only way to get rid of the chametz, fire for sure is good, but then you just put it in a boiling pot. What if you don't know? So you have to put it on the flame. You have to do number one. You have to do the best one. Omar le ano keinchato kamino katayu betina. What do? I need to protect the handle. I don't want the handle to burn. So I cover it with tina, with clay. Uparzalayu benura. Then I take the blade and I put in the fire. V'hadar ma'ilino lekatayu beroidchin. And then I take I take off the clay, and then I put the handle into boiling water. Why? Because at the end of the day, chametz touches the handle. Now, I'm not going to put the handle on the fire ever. I don't ever use it as a skewer on the fire. I use the blade on the fire. But the chametz drips back. If you ever look at your handle, it's always dirty a little bit, so it has some chametz in there. So that I need to do beroitchen, with boiling water. I just wanted to tell you guys, I mean, you guys know all about this, but anybody in the world, this made a tremendous impression on me when I moved to Ramat Bet Shemesh. They set up, right across the street from my house, there's a giant parking lot, and they set up an enormous Hagalas Kalim thing. It's all free. And the volunteers come with their pots and their things, and I guess they have all the equipment, and you can bring anything you want, and people sit there with screwdrivers for you, and they remove the handles, and they clean it for you, and they burn the chametz off, and they have torches, and it's unbelievable what they do here. No?
No, it's free. They pay you to do it.
They pay you to do this.
It's not free.
No, it's free. Big signs here that say free. 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 It says big signs. Lilo, I didn't take I have the picture at home. I didn't have time. Maybe in one of these. It's free. Pashut free. Well, there's nothing free in this world. There's big signs that say Kupat Ta'ir. But it's free. Ask, where's Yisrael Meir Simon? Doesn't he come? By the way, just as an update for some of the guys here, there are 2 guys from this room that we started out that were exposed to Corona. I just want to say, just saying why I wasn't crazy about coming back here. 2, in 2 different situations, and they're not here today. All right. Here's some pictures of the guys. They have everything. It's unbelievable. Why am I excited about this? Because when I was a bacher, I opened up a place right across the street from Chaim Berlin. I did Hagalas Kalim, and then I had one of these gloves. Here's a great picture of it. I had one of these gloves on, and I stuck my hand, and somebody's becher fell to the bottom of the pot, so I stuck in my hand really, really slowly, not to get the water in my glove, but I missed it by I guess I didn't see, and the boiling water went into my glove, and cooked up my skin. It was like, 3rd degree is the worst? It was just peeled off. It was terrible stuff. I had to close down shop. Anyways, here's the torch. You can't really see the flame. This was taken by Menachem Shloss. All these pictures. I took this off the video because his video, whatever. So here's a torch, and this is Kabbalah Kach Poltoi. Here's the burners. Mamish, big job over there. Fine. Zok the Gemara. So you throw it into the roitchen. Where's the roitchen picture? So this is fire, and this is, well, you see the pots, the roitchen. Here, this is roitchen. It has to be boiling water. Most say kli rishon means that it's still boiling. Whether it's on the flame or not, but it's boiling. I will tell you from experience that boil goes down really, really quickly. Especially if you put in a single kli, it's done. So the boil doesn't last. We all know that. Omer Avuna Bereder Yeshua. 8. Yeah, man. I'm just saying. I'm saying the machlekes rishon is what happens if you turn off the flame. You turn off. Is that considered kli rishon? Some say it's not considered kli rishon, even though it's boiling. It's not with the flame. I think that's what they say. The bottom line is it has to be roitchen, it has to be boiling. You have to see it bubble. Says the Gemara. So you need hot water. Even the blade doesn't need fire. It needs boiling water. Ubekli rishon, just make sure that it's boiling. So if you know for a fact, then I don't know. I think what the Gemara is saying is that we don't know. So one of these mistama, you use that. So unless we have to say yes, even if you know for a fact. I saw them talking about it. I just don't remember. Even if you know for a fact. How does that work? I don't know. We're going to see it in 2 lines in the Gemara. I just forgot. 8 parur magiloi beroitchin. 8 parur is this. A wooden spoon that you mix your dish with. It's interesting. You think that this absorbs a lot. No. Roitchen. The only thing that doesn't work is kli cheres, earthenware. Magiloi beroitchen ubekli rishoin, and it has to be boiling. Kesavar keboiloi kachpolte. What do you do with the spoon? You mix a pot. You're not using it as a skewer, so you're mixing a pot. So you see, we didn't go away from keboiloi kachpolte, Ruvain. So I don't know. Kesavar keboiloi kachpolte. Ba menei ma'amemar hani moni de kunya. Ma'u lishtamushibu bepischa. You have a vessel like today. And that's why I mentioned that even some people were upset at me and they wrote me emails, but it seems like today's earthenware is not really earthenware. It has a glaze, like a glass glaze on it, so perhaps it does need a mikvah. We said you have to do tfilas kelim without a bracha. So hanamani de kunya ma'ul ishtamushu b'pitzcha. If you have a glazed vessel, but it's glazed not with glass, glazed with lead. Lead is metal. So metal, we said, you could get rid of the blias. You could get rid of the absorption. Could you use it on Pesach? In other words, the question is, could you remove the chametz from lead? Or do we view it a little differently? It's really earthenware. Says the Gemara, Yeruka loite boilach devadi asiri. Says Rashi, look at the word over here, another interesting word. So Rashi says alum. This is alum. How do you pronounce it in English? Alum. It's a mineral, not this. This is from Masechta Shabbos. It's a mineral. So since it has this mineral in the kli, in the earthenware, it absorbs a lot. Memela, it's no good. You can never get it out. The black vessels and the white vessels, that's the shayla. If it has, what's kartufne? How do you say kartufne? If it has cracks. If it has cracks, then certainly the chametz went into the cracks. So what's the shayla? The shayla is kitaboylach deshimai. If it's very smooth, doesn't have cracks. Omerlei chazina lahu dimidaisi. We see that earthenware sweats. In other words, if you cook up earthenware on a flame and you have a liquid inside, you'll see it come out from the outside. So it comes out, but not completely. It has a blia that never leaves. No, we're not talking about condensation. We're talking about true sweat, like What if it has the color of the liquid that you have? Not a condensation. Pots condensate when they're hot? I thought only cold. Hot also? Alma bali va'asiri. So you see that they absorb and therefore it's aser. So once we know it absorbs because it goes through and through, I don't know that we're familiar with these kelim. These are, earthenware. Who has earthenware? It will come out, but not 100%. And since it's not 100%, you still have chametz in there, and it's no good. Says the Gemara, the Darish Miremar, we have the same exact case, but with yain nesach. That what? Mani de kunyo, if you have vessels that are glazed, like we had before, bein ukma, bein chivre, bein yeruke shari, all colors, even green or yellow, yarek is yellow maybe, is mutter. Why is wine yain nesach? What's yain nesach? Maybe a guy looked at it and did something with it. Not true yain nesach. The Rabbani yain nesach. All the kelim are mutter. V'chitei yain nesach the Rabbanon. Chametz deraisa. You're going to tell me, okay, yain nesach is not real avodah zara. It's a chashash. But chametz is deraisa. However, we have a concept called the taka Rabbanon. Came the deraisa taka. The Rabbanon of yain nesach should mimic the deraisa, and the green yellow kelim should be aser, and the other ones we don't know. Amalei, I'll tell you the difference. Big difference. Amalei, Rabbis, I'm serious. Every dafir, we're going to come back to these dafim throughout the entire Shas. It's going to say throughout Shas, Pesachim kol shah, daf lamed, lamed aleph, chavtes, dov agorim l'mamoin. We're up to a sugya soon, incredible sugya of mamanis, completely no shayches. One sugya after another. Called the talking Rabbanon kain deraisa talking. Maybe they'll point out to this Gemara when it says it. Tremendous difference between cold and hot. Hot absorbs, so the chametz is absorbed in the kli. Yain nesach, who has hot wine? It's cold wine. Wine doesn't get absorbed in the kli. Maybe you're allowed to use it. Yellow, green, doesn't matter. If you use the kli for chametz very cold, it was cold, not very cold, there's no problem. You could throw it. You could throw matzah into it. Chot min beisar. Oh, I love this. Beisar. I never knew what this rubber band was. I found out real quickly when I moved it the other day. It's there for a reason. It shows you where it started and did it rise, did it grow. My wife, oh wow, it grew a lot today. No, I brought it to the shear. So I'm going to try not to move this. She warned me not to take it to shear again, but she's still sleeping. Chutz min beisar. Now, what's the problem with beisar? This hold. Now, this is klicher. We know that this is earthenware. You think this is glass, but this is really earthenware. And the earthenware absorbs, especially this leavening agent. You put a little bit in this to dough, it ferments. That's the word we were looking for yesterday. Not rise. It ferments the dough. Because it ferments, it rises. Ferments. A little bit of this, that's all you need. So this is it. This is the what is it called? The catalyst. No, the small amount that makes a large amount. The oive, it's actually dripping again. Oh my gosh. I guess she left it open on purpose to make sure I don't take it again. It's like food dye, like you put a small amount and it's the concentrate. Thank you. No, they said catalyst. It's the concentrate. So it's so strong. The concentrate is very, very strong, so it goes into the kli. Says the Gemara, because it's very strong. A kli that holds other very strong ingredients, like vinegar, something very strong. These vessels that they have in mechayza, hoyel udira lemelash buchamira, umashu bo chamira. Rabbi, I risked my marriage to show you this. I want to show you this, and please don't send me an email that it's not kedai to risk your marriage for the shear. American sarcastic humor. Don't worry about it. Here. Wow, I think I changed it. It used to be bigger. Anyways, this is this bowl that this sourdough sits in. If you didn't hear him, he said, I look very nervous. This is not the first time I risked my marriage, but this is, I don't know if you know, sourdough to these women today is like, it's their life, it's their thing, it's a zach. While I'm learning in the dining room, I hear, bam, bam, it's like it's malacha, it's smacking on the ground every day, boom, 40 times. You got to know, people call her up. Do you add a little bit the 350 to the 220? And it's a matzav. Okay, anyways, it tastes really good though. This Shabbos, this is not going to get to anything. This Shabbos, I looked at the bread, and there's a design of a wheat on it. Mamish, beautiful design. She sat there with a razor blade. You buy these things, they sell for sourdough. You put it on, and you just cut it out exactly. Unbelievable stuff. Anyway, so since it sits in this thing, you can see it's sat. I literally, she didn't do it for me. I went into the refrigerator, this is how I found it. Like this. Here, I'll take it off so you can see. It's good stuff. Don't tell her, please. I'm throwing it back in there. She's going to say, I don't know what happened. The bread came out half the size today, smushed. I said, yeah, it's the oven. You know, these Israeli ovens, you never know. Different days they do the, fine. Okay, so it sits there for a long time, so therefore the chametz gets absorbed. By the way, I think this is also kli cheres. This is kind of wood, but it just looks like wood. This is a kli cheres. Pshita, okay, it absorbs. So what's the difference in what kli it is? What's the nafkamina if it's in this or in this? They're the same thing. Says the Gemara, tell you what the difference is. Look how wide it is. So maybe the ear comes and takes away the leavening agents, doesn't allow it to absorb into the kli. Kamash malon, that yes. All right, Rabbi, so we have a couple minutes here. We'll go over it tomorrow as well. But let's start the amazing sugya. It's a really beautiful sugya of money, monetary, halvahs, and not halvahs. Says the Mishnah. Nachri shilvas Yisrael chametzoi. You have a guy that lent money to a Jew, and the Jew in return gave him his chametz as collateral. And the guy is holding the chametz throughout Pesach. Achar Pesach, mutar b'hana, we consider it as if it's the guy's, and therefore it's mutar b'hana. Why do we consider it's the guy's? It's the Jews. Well, it depends. If the Jew didn't pay back, and the guy had it from the beginning of the Pesach, do we view it, here's a lam d'shakasha, do we view it that the chametz became the guy's at the moment that the Jew decided he doesn't want to pay back, and that's after Pesach, and maybe it should be asur b'hana? Or do we view it as if the guy's throughout the entire time? We just retroactively realized that it was the guy's from the beginning of Pesach. So these are things we're going to be discussing. V'Yisrael shilves nachri al chametz, and the same thing in reverse, that the Jew was the lender, he owned the bank, like back in Europe, and the guy gave the Jew the chametz as a collateral. So the Jew is holding on to the chametz the whole Pesach. He's allowed to. Why? We said that the non-Jew's chametz in the Jew's house is okay. Lo yira shalcha, not shel guy, not shel hegdish. Should we stop here? Should we go weiter? Let's stop here. All right. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Adonai Shema b'kali.